Smart 24, driving business.
All right, welcome once again to Smart 24 TV. This is the business edition, the detailed report that brings you precedents in the economic spectrum in Uganda, East Africa, and Africa at large. Channel 372 on DSTV and then channel 394 on GOTV. That's Smart 24 TV. Now, welcome once more to 2023. We are fresh off 2022. So many things happened. We had plans that we set before and then transpiring into 2023. We anticipated a lot of that to change. Lucky enough to those that had a balance, that struck a balance between success and then limiting the challenges. Good for you. But then even to those that failed to kick up to that, we anticipate that we can do better in 2023. So, once more, welcome to the business edition. So, East Africa at large, that's where we are going to start from in our very first precedent. So, when you look at the East African community, we are looking into the customs union, the monetary union. So, in this first report, the East African Monetary Union Protocol establishes the 10th years for the member states to establish themselves and then harmonize on a common currency. So, how well that has transpired as far as East African integration is concerned, it's a matter of interest. In our very first report, we have details to this as far as East African integration is concerned. So let's have a look at this.
The establishment of monetary stability within the community requires cooperation in financial and fiscal affairs, which is required when there is a unified currency. This aims at making it easier to achieve the community's sustainable economic development and economic integration objectives. Finalize regional regulations for pension benefit, portability and consumer protection, as well as financial infrastructure for payment and settlement systems.
A common currency really rotates around aspects of regional integration. And from an academic point of view, I understand we have had an elusive journey when it comes to achieving regional integration. And of course, it happens around 7 stages. And I think by the time we reach at a common currency, we are at the stage of forming a monetary union. So prior to that, there is that journey that we have walked, that initially we start from a preferential trade agreement, literally, which envisages that as countries, when we are near each other, we are able to trade at lower transaction costs because the distance is small.
This project seeks to harmonize monetary and fiscal policies, financial payment and settlement systems, and the establishment of an East African central bank. Additionally, it aims to lower transaction costs, save on foreign reserves, eliminate currency rate risk, and harmonize prices across the entire region.
Common currency is sometimes a bit of pride, regional pride, because it still doesn't stop people trading, especially when you have a common currency in quotes like the dollar, which is acceptable across all the different countries. So you already have a common currency if it is for purposes of facilitating a medium of exchange. That one is already covered, it's not a problem. But the other one is trying to remove maybe foreign exchange transaction costs and barriers and build confidence. So there are roles that it plays. Minimal roles in today's world where you can, even now we are going into digital payments. It doesn't matter which currency I'm using to pay because the cash will no longer be so much of an issue.
As East Africa moves towards having a single currency, it is important to rationalize investment, utilize existing sectors to their fullest potential, and harmonize trade rules, investment incentives, and product standards in order to promote the community as a single investment region. More so, this will harmonize East African statistics information rules and standards, as well as financial accounting and reporting processes. Martha Nimsima, Smart 24 TV.
So away from the East African community and then the monetary union, back home here, President Museveni has questioned the residents of Kazo districts to stop complaining about poor roads and then focus on matters that can help them raise their household incomes. More details have come through with our own reporter, Ronan Aharu. So details to this are coming.
His Excellency, the President, accompanied by the First Lady, Mrs. Janet Kataha Museveni, visited the farmers and leaders from Chirihura and Kazo districts. He urged leaders at all levels to focus their efforts on income-generating activities that will better the livelihoods and families of the people they lead.
People from Tungamo are hardworking. We rear cattle and cultivate, and that is how we have been able to survive.
The President was also pleased to learn from Reverend Samuel Mugisha, the Kazo LC5 chairperson, that out of 35,000 households in the area, 67% are engaged in commercial farming, 33% are engaged in subsistence farming, and the majority of them have small pieces of land.
Your Excellency, I want to let you know that there are more individuals engaged in financial farming than you may think. And I want to let you know that this trend is continuing. I also want to extend an invitation to visit our headquarters to see how far we've come.
Lieutenant Colonel retired Bright Ramilama, the Minister of State for Agriculture and Animal Industry, welcomed the President to Kazo and highlighted a number of initiatives that will support agriculture.
Please allow me to introduce you to some of the schemes that will help to enhance agriculture, including mechanization in the fields of rearing and cultivation in certain locations.
The head of state emphasized the risk posed by land fragmentation, claiming that it is one of the obstacles to Ugandans' progress. Ronan Ahabwe, Smart 24 TV.
Now, as President Museveni was questioning the residents of Kazo district in regard to supplementary matters for poverty eradication, back then in Parliament, his own government has been cautioned in regard to handing out cash handouts and then at the same time incentives, raw incentives for the public, which isn't a prerequisite for economic growth. So more details have come through with our own reporter, Samola Hanifa. More details of this.
Over the years, government of Uganda has made notable strides in eradicating poverty since it assumed power in 1986. Household poverty rates have significantly declined from 19.7% in 2013 to 8.4% by 2020. However, even with this improvement, Uganda is still considered one of the poorest countries in the world, with a substantial number of its people living in abject poverty. Government is popular for its ambitious economic plans aimed at transforming Uganda homesteads from subsistence to market-oriented production through poverty-eradicating programs that encourage value-addition production. Programs like Rural Farmers Scheme in 1990s, Entandikwa in 1996, Bonabaga Gawale in 2007, Youth Livelihood Fund Emyoga to the current parish development model. But all these have posted little to no success.
So there have been so many projects in Karamoja region and other regions. For example, NUSAF, Northern Uganda Social Action Fund. It has been pouring a lot of money to these regions. And also we have been having youth livelihood funds. We have been having women empowerment funds. Now we have been having EMIOGA. There's now PDF, Parish Development Model. All these programs are giving, there's a lot of money going to the region. But if you don't have a brain to utilize the opportunities, then it's like dropping a needle into the sea. Yeah, if these people are not equipped with the capacity, with the knowledge on how to manage their funds, yeah, everything will become air.
Besides corruption, many of these said programs have been watered down by inflated administration costs, bureaucratic tape, and financial illiteracy among intended beneficiaries, and lawmakers advise government to revise the cash system to instead giving people incentives and inputs.
In our area, in Acholi sub-region, why not to give tractors to our people? Even if in a parish you give one tractor, let us support people so that they open up their own garden, they work their own money. And sincerely, this idea of giving money to people, and even if the money was there, truly, you are giving money to someone who has never done any business, someone who is in the village, someone who does not have a bar of soap, even salt in the house. Automatically will get the money and use the money, and that is going to be the end of everything. So I really feel the organizers, the planners for the PDM, I think they have misled the government. This is a very fake program. It won't work in the villages where I come from.
I was laughing at the people who are technical people in charge of these projects. In my community, I don't have power. I don't have electricity in my community. In my community, I don't have even any taxi transport. But you find that the boys were having the projects for welding. Where will you get the money for power? The boys were getting projects for taxi operators. Is that not corruption? How do you approve such a project when it doesn't exist in that place? So some of this money, it is just like people target money just to eat, not just to develop themselves. I don't think whether that can make people can make Uganda to move to another level. Because why is it that people get money, but they still continue being poor? Most of us MPs, we are just spending a lot of money in our constituencies to fundraise, to buy ambulances, to buy, to fundraise for churches, to fundraise for schools.
According to Honorable Krizera, government programs are not bad, but there is less consultation done before they are introduced just to excite Ugandans, yet they are not viable. He says these programs cannot take first priority to security and infrastructure. That is why they are only active on paper and not in reality.
So we pray that the economy improves. Otherwise, you cannot say that the punishment model will work alone when the roads have not received the money. UNRWA and the Ministry of Works, they don't have money to work on those roads. So what is the priority in government? Security, infrastructure, and punishment model cannot be priority on security and roads. So people should have realistic thinking, realistic budgeting, and realistic expenditure. That's when we shall develop.
COVID-19 pandemic affected very many businesses of Ugandans, but even though government put up some money totaling up to 200 billion for formal and small medium enterprises to borrow this money, only 4 billion has so far been borrowed, something that indicates that few Ugandans embrace government projects.
Small businesses which are formal, employing some people, they are having books of accounts. In other words, they are showing sign of recovery to go and get this support. About 200 billion is available. The last time I checked, the banks had lent out something like only 4 billion. So we have relaxed the conditions to ensure that they can be able to access this money and recover.
The 2023-2024 budget framework paper has put focus on adding money for parish development model to improve the lives of many Ugandans who are affected by COVID-19. But the question remains whether actually Ugandans will benefit from this scheme. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV.
Now, away from that, the East African community has been a beneficiary of the African Free Continental Trade Area. And the Right Honorable Member of Parliament, Ali Twala Kadaga Rebecca, has decided to call upon the East African community for a coordination of economic policies that can transform the entire East Africa. And then the utilization of natural resources. Our reporter Samuel Chirimoda was part of these developments, and the detailed report comes through.
Political and social divisions impede East African communities' efforts to integrate. These divisions result in what seem to be interminable non-tariff barriers, which pose a danger to the region's overall contribution to international markets. For instance, global trade inside East Africa shrank in 2017 from 0.3% to a pitiful 0.2%. Additionally, the trade deficit rose by 63.1% to $17.4 billion. Exports the rest of the world declined as well, and just 29.2% of the exports were going to COMESA and other intra-regional markets. The African Continental Free Trade Area, however, encouraged cooperation and goodwill to employ already existing tools and well-designed policies to enhance trade and remove entrenched barriers. John Bosco Kalisa, the chief executive of the East African Business Council, has praised the creation of the Technical Working Group by the African Continental Free Trade Area as a great forum for including private sectors and discussing issues that have an influence on conducting business.
One is the establishment of Technical Working Group, which is an excellent platform for engaging the private sector to discuss and dialogue on important issues that impact doing business in the region.
Stella Upload, the leading standards officer for East African Secretariat, reveals that this year over 2,500 standards have been harmonized, bringing the overall rate up to 80% from the prior years.
Over 80 standards, and the adoption of these standards by the partner state has been very great. We have it at the percentage of 80%.
Additionally, Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, the first Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda and the Minister for East Africa, argues that Africa has a wealth of natural resources that must be handled through promoting policy and action cooperation.
Had a very fruitful meeting, and it's coming after a long time. It just underscores the urgency of what we need to do now to catch up in terms of conserving the environment, improving our resources, managing what we have.
The European Union, as far as trading blocs go, has served as a global case study of transforming a free market into a common market. The EU defied all odds and proceeded to expand in depth and geography in a historic feat while facing significant obstacles in the integration process, such as the repeated crisis in the exchange rate mechanism in the early 1990s. Therefore, if the AfCFTA is fully utilized, it will transform not only Uganda, but the entire region into a stronghold in the marketing. As a result of speaking the same commercial language, we would finally be able to compete in the global markets. Samla Hanifa, Samuel Chirimunda, Smart 24 TV.
Still matters regarding the East African community. The East African Youth Forum has called upon the respective stakeholders to invest more in agriculture, technology, and other sectors to transform East African employment. Still, this report has been compiled by a reporter of our own, Samuel Chirimunda. The details come through.
Youth Ambassador for Kenya, Wayarimo Manyara, called for more support for young innovators to address the issue of jobless in the community while speaking to journalists at the East African Youth Forum. Although 70% of the East African community is young, unemployment is a significant challenge in the community.
Every innovation you sponsor, right? That's a business you've been able to sponsor. For every business you sponsor, that's 5, for example, you create employment for 5 more youth out there or for 10 more youth out there. So why it's important for us to focus on this from a bottom-up approach is that as opposed to focusing on just getting people jobs, you create or you give one youth the capacity to start a business. They're able to start or create employment for 20 more youth within the region in itself. And I think it's also important within the EAC context because I can be able to trade goods from Kenya to Uganda, for example, through the East African community. So even the more we develop this regionally as opposed to nationally, we open our access to markets for youth innovations. So we also don't necessarily end up competing just in Kenyan borders, and then we fluctuate our markets with the same products when there's access to markets all over the region.
The regional coordinator for East Africa Community Youth Network, Jack Tosime, additionally added that government of Uganda should coordinate with ICT framework in the area to guarantee that the cost of data used for communication, such as Facebook and other platforms, should be reduced.
So when you talk about unlocking the youth potential, you're talking about unlocking the whole of East African community, because the youth are the majority. And when they improve and they invest in technology, we will solve as many problems as possible. This event is focusing on 6 pillars. We are talking about innovation in energy, innovation in ICT, innovation in agriculture, innovation in health, and we are focusing also on climate change. And those are the issues that we are grappling with as the East African community, the 7 partner states. And we are saying that when we invest in, for example, agriculture, where we have the comparative advantage, we are going to create very many jobs where young people face challenges of unemployment. If we invest in climate change, we are going to sort the challenges that we are seeing in climate change. And we want to put the young people at the forefront of this, because we believe that the EAC has a vision 2050. And this vision 2050 will be achieved if young people are put at the forefront. The internet connectivity in the EAC is at 1 out of 5. You can imagine 20% of the East Africans are the only ones who are accessing internet. So how are you going to improve ICT and innovation if people are still not using technology? Another thing is the issue of data. If you look at the region, among the regional economic blocks, the EAC has the highest data prices. You can look at Uganda, for example. We still have an issue of Facebook, which the president even, I don't know what happened. So we need to ensure that we bring data prices down to ensure that we promote innovation. That is 1. 2, we must ensure that we harmonize the ICT and the STI frameworks in the region.
The Permanent Secretary for East African Community Affairs, Edith Mwanje, disclosed that there are specific procedures that must be followed where the Council of Ministers make policies decisions together with coordinating committees to achieve and handle the difficulties in the community.
We have a Council of Ministers that takes policy decisions. We have a summit of heads of state that makes gives direction and impetus on the direction we should be moving. But we also have a meeting of permanent secretaries, which is called the coordination committee, and then technical meetings. So those ones take decisions, research is done at the technical level, it's pushed up until the council makes policy and then advises the heads of state. And then also we have, of course, the EAC Secretariat. So it's a lot. We have arrangements, we have the court, we have the YALA. All those help us to achieve, to achieve what we want to achieve.
The community's most valuable resource is its human capital, which includes the full mobilization and effective participation of all East Africans, including men, women, and the youth for social and national advancement. Youth should receive proportionate recognition and engagement in all national and regional development efforts because they make up the largest population group in the East African community. In order to create a legally binding framework for the efficient implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of youth programs and initiatives, the Sectoral Council's recommendations led to the adoption of the East African Community Youth Policy in August 2013. Andrew Barije, Samuel Chirimunda, Smart 24.
Right, welcome back from that. The business edition continues. But first, we are going to head for a brief commercial break. And when we come back, there's a lot more that made headlines across East Africa, Uganda to be particular.
Smart 24, driving business.
He must be rich, tall, handsome, from a respectable family. He must have a maid at our home, we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
Why? Obadde olobye ku ssimu?
Yamunange, anti yo TV enkolera.
Enjoy a new world of entertainment with over 80 TV and radio channels, plus movies from wherever you are. Download the GOTV Channels app from your app store and enjoy 30 days of free streaming with MTN.
GOTV Channels.
Smart 24, driving business.
All right, welcome back from that break. The business edition still continues. I'm Ivan Tivenkana, and this is the bulletin that covers precedents in the economic spectrum across Uganda, East Africa at large, Africa altogether, and then the world eventually, globally. So away from the unemployment among the youth to something special, the micro, small scale and medium enterprises cut across all sectors of the economy, from the manufacturing to services to trade. But then the development of these industries has been hampered by so many factors. So among those many factors, we have a detailed report in regard to this. Let's have the details.
There is insufficient policy framework to effectively realize the entire growth potential of MSMEs to economic development. A variety of initiatives have been developed by the government, development parties, and the private sector to support and expand the MSME sector. But these efforts have been mostly dispersed, uncoordinated, conflicting, and isolated.
And I think that the government should look into this. I mean, for God's sake, is this the best time to increase the interest rates? Isn't it a negative progress towards the increasing aggregate demand? Because we still had a challenge of a low aggregate demand. Now, certain policies I think must be discussed in a view of not only the fiscal policy, but also in a view of business development. I think the best idea is that when passing certain policies, the business community must be involved so that we know the implications of certain policies, be it fiscal or any other. What will be the implication of the business community?
Small and medium-sized businesses are less likely than large businesses to be able to acquire bank loans. Therefore, they must instead rely on internal resources like cash from friends and family to start and run their businesses, a practice that restricts their ability to expand. Improving credit infrastructure, which can lead to improved SME access to finance, as well as introducing innovation in SME finance, such as e-lending platforms, e-invoicing, e-factoring, and supply chain financing, can benefit SMEs.
Some of our section of traders import from China. For the last 3 years, China is closed, so they cannot access their goods. That is one. And also the small traders who left shops and then they went into working. They're also facing it hard on the streets. They can't conduct their businesses here. So the money is dwindling every day. People are becoming poorer every day. They cannot access cheap loans. And those who can access cheap loans, they don't know how to. Most of them have lost addresses, and that is key in getting financial assistance from financial institutions.
The International Finance Corporation estimates that 65 million businesses, or 40% of former micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises in developing countries, have annual financing needs of $5.2 trillion, or 1.4 times the level of global MSMEs lending, which are all unfulfilled. In consultation with sector players, the government is in collaboration with SME support organizations to harmonize all these present policy issues. Martha Nimsima, Smart 24 TV.
Now, as 2022 ended on a high note for some, many public servants had to settle for the festivities without a paycheck. And then the Minister for Finance, that's Matia Kasaija, had to chip in and then involve Parliament on how exactly this matter can be resolved. More details to this coming in.
The legislature had assurances from the Finance Minister, Honorable Matia Kasaija, last week that salaries for public employees would be paid before Christmas. He even asked to leave early so that he could personally manage the situation.
I told you salaries, please, are settled, and they have cast a call on the budget. Now that my colleague here has confirmed that the preparation are going on, this money should be today. We are operating very good system. Yes.
So the minister has made a commitment on the money that is. I want us to conclude so that he goes to ensure that his commitment is implemented. Yes.
However, according to our anonymous source, this was not taken into consideration and nothing was added to their accounts. As a result, they were forced to spend the festive period without money to celebrate with their families. The Ministry of Finance attributed these to wage increases for science teachers and healthcare professionals, but the State Minister for Public Service said that since the salary increases occurred in May of last year before the start of the fiscal year, they could not have had an impact on the payment process.
And the financial year started in July, on the 1st of July, and by that time, that report was already overtaken because the salaries were increased for all scientists across board. Therefore, we should not concentrate on over-talking about increment of salaries for scientists again. We should look now at the issue of increasing salaries across board for all civil servants. Because when you check on the report, you find that some nurses have been enhanced 130%, 110%, meaning at least their issue is handled.
Silas Aogon, a Kumi Municipality Member of Parliament, wants the government to treat the issue of salaries seriously if it is to retain skilled labor, particularly in the health sector.
Is what keeps your labor moving as a country. And if you don't attend to it, then you know you are trying to impede your progress as a country. So when people make concerns around salaries and disparities, it is real and it has connotations that can bring the country's progress down. So nobody should take it lightly. For me, I stand with those who are agitating to be given what they ought to be given, because it's their right, first of all. But also it is a motivational factor. Once you pay people the money that they are supposed to be paid, they get motivated to do their work. We are talking about, for instance, medical interns. These are critical in the service delivery, particularly in the health sector. You can play about any other thing, but not health. Because to me, that one really touches the life of everyone, including His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda.
The legislator also suggests that government should look into the issue of civil servant compensation inequalities, because they have noticed that certain civil workers receive excessive salaries compared to others who perform the same task, which is unfair.
About the civil service, the public service, you find in this entity somebody is getting bigger money. In the other entity, there are times when we used to hear that KCCA, if you were working with the KCCA, you'd be getting a lot of money. A driver would be earning money that somebody is leading another organization within government. You can imagine that kind of thing. So what causes this? As long as people are getting money from the consolidated fund, there has to be a proper mechanism of making sure that those who are having the same kind of qualification earn the same kind of money. Those who do the same kind of work earn the same amount of money.
In her speech to the legislature, Honorable Namuga Goreti warned MPs that the administration has long neglected the fact that majority of civil officials lack motivation, which results in poor performance.
Look at the institutions of government and the way our public servants are paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, government has failed to motivate its own public servants who are supposed to give services to the people.
While addressing the same issue last week, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament issued a harsh warning to the Ministry of Public Service on the restructuring and payment and pay reforms in the Ministry of Public Service in an effort to simplify public servant salaries.
The other day I told Prime Minister to hand a matter, which they have not. They are forcing me to appoint. I'm being pushed into a corner of appointing a select committee to look into operations of public service. Though for now I'm still resisting that temptation. But if you continue, I will have to go that line. And I know how tough that line can be. You reduced salaries of police officers. Someone who has been earning a salary for 10 years. You come from nowhere and you say this is not your salary. Okay? Yes, then you have people. I saw the letter from the permanent secretary, Minister of Public Service. If you people don't want Parliament to do its work, it's unfortunate.
The issue of delaying salaries for public servants is not something new. It has been happening for many years, and lawmakers think the problem arises from the Ministry of Public Service, which they call a place of organized chaos that needs to be restructured. Samla Hanifa, Smart 24 TV.
Now, as public servants have had to settle for the festivities without a paycheck, Busoga sub-region has been one of the most impoverished areas. And in this regard, 10,300 people have been recruited so that they can be informed about investment and then saving. So Naomi Mutumba gave us this story prior.
Many Ugandans continue to lack access to financial services such as savings and credit. According to Sinovate Uganda's Limited FinCorp 2021 Uganda report, access to financial services for the 18 and above year-old population has increased from 57% in 2020 to 72% in 2021. However, a sizable proportion of Ugandans, particularly in rural areas, remain financially excluded and underserved. As a result, community leaders have begun to educate rural communities in the Busoga sub-region about investing and saving through SACCOs. So far, 10,300 people have been recruited.
Our main focus is to focus on these people below the pyramid. They are neglected. They don't have such, opportunities. They don't get so much of that opportunities. They are in villages. No one reach out to them. But people who are getting such opportunities are in Kampala and urban centers.
10,300 members all over Busoga sub-region and beyond. The main objective we are carrying in this association, we are on fighting against poverty, ignorance and disease. But some of the objectives we are running in this association, sensitizing our members about the model farming and model farming and saving. So right now, we are encouraging our members to save what we named save for investment. What we need in this objective, we need our member to have a saving culture in their spirit so that they save. That money will be invested in what they want to do.
This will be accomplished by meeting with several village circles and cooperatives to identify needs and provide solutions. Members of these villages have so far been able to invest in farming practices.
Several circles, several cooperatives, and several groups around. So we shall meet them, we shall know what they are doing, we shall air out what they are doing, and we shall give advice. Then we shall go and look for those cooperative companies.
Right now we have our members who have done a very good projects like goat rearing, passion fruit farming, banana plantation, and so on. So we shall start with those people who are showing seriousness in farming and making projects with a bigger vision.
With the latest technological trends, particularly in terms of money transfer and saving, communities have been equipped with knowledge on how to upgrade their saving system.
It is the solution to our people because it is the easiest form of transfer of money that these circles can actually engage in. These people, they do analog way of saving and analog way of investment, having a kasua, you know, a kasua, a pot somewhere, putting chikumi. So we want to get them from that situation into a situation that can help them to engage into saving on a financial institution.
Supporting SACCOs and other community-based savings and credit organizations is critical for bringing financial services closer to rural residents. This will be further facilitated by the implementation of relevant policies and regulations, as well as the presence of strong apex bodies that support the development of sustainable SACCOs. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV.
Away from investment and then saving, we move on to the energy sector. So from the 2023 annual tariff review, the Ministry of Energy decided to drop it by 1.2%. So from the previous expenditures, the people in the different sectors are glad and can anticipate to spend less on energy. More details to this report by our reporter.
In an annual attempt to facilitate transmission and distribution of electricity, the government works to lower electricity tariffs. Additionally, it exhorts the populace to take advantage of this chance and aid the government in expanding the power supply system to support the nation's socio-economic transformation.
A 1.2% reduction as a tariff reduction is something to congratulate ourselves about. Slowly but sure, we shall attain the tariff that we feel will cause production affordable, and therefore all of us will benefit.
In addition to the end-user tariffs for 2023, the electricity subsector has operationalized the Electricity Amendment Act 2022. The amendment has provisions on payment royalties, private investment in transmission segment, and direct purchase of electricity.
Started on operationalization of the Electricity Amendment Act of 2022. Many of you were in Parliament when this bill was passed into law, and on the 15th of May of this year, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda assented to this bill, to this act.
Moving forward, government is accelerating electricity access to 80% by 2070 as per Vision 2040 and NDP3. This provision involves hybrid consumer connection financing framework, get access to power supply countrywide, energy access scale-up project, commissioning of the 600 megawatts Karuma hydropower plant, host of the Independent Regulatory Board of the Eastern Africa Power Pool, and establishing upcountry regional offices by the Electricity Regulatory Authority.
And under this framework, the government has reduced the cost of no-poor new customer connection from 720,883 Ugandan shillings to 470,000 Ugandan shillings through a subsidy of 250,883 Ugandan shillings for each no-poor connection. This is a subsidy. Emitwala 25 bedu. You are not going to pay that. As if that's not enough, the government of Uganda, through Uganda Development Bank, has provided a credit line of 270,000 Ugandan shillings. Credit line, which will not attract interest. No interest rate attracted. for those who are unable to pay the lump sum of 470,000. You have this credit line of 270, which you'll be able to pay slowly with no interest. That leaves you with 200,000 shillings that you are supposed to look for and pay upfront. You have been paying 720,000 upfront. Now you are going to pay 200,000 upfront.
Electricity end-user retail tariffs, which serve as the rates for the first quarter of 2023, January to March, and the setting of these rates give the general public the chance to boost consumption and output. It involves stepping up oversight of authorized energy service providers with regard to the caliber and dependability of the power supply.
The Uganda shilling has appreciated against the United States dollar from 3,810 shillings and 70 cents per dollar in the determination of the retail tariff for the fourth quarter of 2022 to shillings 3,738 and 33 cents on the 30th November 2022, as published by the Bank of Uganda. This represents an appreciation of 1.9%. The second assumption is that with effect from April 2023, Uganda Electricity Generation Company Limited will assume the operation of Narubale and Kira hydropower complex. The demand assumption is that electricity demand is expected to grow at an annual rate of 8.31% in the year 2023.
The Electricity Regulatory Board has provided peak, shoulder and off-peak timeframes to help users understand when energy prices are highest and lowest. Peak time is from 6 p.m. to midnight when the energy charge is highest. Off-peak time is from midnight to dawn when the energy charge is lowest. And shoulder time is from 6 a.m. to p.m. when the charges are moderate.
6 p.m. to midnight. The off-peak time is midnight to morning. And if you follow the documents that have been shared and the reading of the chair of ERA, that is the period when the price of electricity is lowest. And I remember she read 214 shillings as compared to the 808.9, which is the average for the domestic.
The weighted average tariff will be reduced by 1.2%, supporting a gradual industrialization of end users and increasing production capacity to maintain monthly billing invoices without compromising the financial viability of the electricity supply industry. According to authority, the quarterly tariff charge methodology, 2023 base tariffs are subject to quarterly adjustment. As a facilitator of industrialization for social and economic development, this goal of lowering the end user tariffs continues to be a major objective of the nation. Martha Nimsima, Smart 24 TV.
All right, as the business edition comes to the end, we'll take a look at the very last development that made headlines as far as the business spectrum is concerned, the Uganda Diaspora Conference. So remittances are a crucial element, and in the annual Uganda Diaspora Network Conference that was held, it was highlighted that these remittances need to be dropped back home for inclusive development, which calls for investments from remittances from outside and then domestically. More report to this comes in.
For the past 12 years, Ugandans from the diaspora have gathered in various nations. This time, Uganda is hosting the annual meeting of the Uganda Diaspora Network, which aims to attract investment from the soon-to-retire team of Ugandans from the state. The diaspora accounts for around 2.2% of Uganda's population, with approximately 6,000 people investing in Uganda. This inspired several partners to create the 12th Annual Uganda Diaspora Network, which strives to encourage diaspora residents to invest in their home nations. According to Ronnie Mayanja, the organization's founder, real estate investment and agriculture are given priority.
Uganda, basically, when there is a foreign direct investment and sort of remittances from the diaspora, that is money and resources we can be used to be able to help countries, foreign investment in terms of foreign exchange and stuff like that. So one of the things that we're benefiting from the dollars that we bring in, it helps the purchasing power of our country to be able to buy and, get some of the exports and stuff like that. But the biggest thing that I wanted to sort of bring to your attention is that by the diaspora being able to return these dollars, they put more money in circulation, which allows for a lot of our people to benefit from the different goods and services that are in the economy.
The major goals of the summit are to analyze the diaspora's investment successes and to reaffirm the diaspora's commitment to taking part in the national development plans at all levels. Dr. Maggie Chigoze, the patron Uganda Diaspora Network, stated that Ugandans living abroad have responded to the appeal by investing in a variety of industries.
Attract them to invest in Uganda. And yes, it's true, we have a lot of diaspora investors in many sectors. They are there in IT, they are there in agriculture, and actually they come up with very innovative new ideas. We have a number in hotels, we have a number in education, and in trade, in tourism. They're actually quite a large number, I know.
Ibrahim Bossa, Assistant Commissioner for Public and Corporate Relations at Uganda Revenue Authority, believes that more awareness and understanding of tax system is necessary in order to boost the number of investors from the diaspora. Several taxes and incentives are excluded from investors, but due to lack of awareness, individuals are hesitant to invest.
In the diaspora, apart from knowing what taxes need to be paid, it is important also for them to know that when you're investing in certain strategic sectors, agriculture, construction, tourism, health, there are exemptions, there are incentives that are given to you. There are areas where you would be paying a tax and you are forgiven that tax because of the investment you are doing. Now, the meetings we're having here are helping us to show people things like that. But the beauty of our country is that our tax laws have all the available incentives. Our incentives will be found in the Income Tax Act. You'll find them in the VAT Act, the Value Added Tax Act. You'll find them in the Stamp Duty Act. You'll find them in the East African Community Customs Management Act. Everything is legally there. Only but some people may not know. That's why we're also now saying we would want to be able to advise people who want to invest in Uganda better. Tell us what you're coming to do. We will tell you what incentives are provided for you.
William Bent, the U.S. Embassy's deputy head of mission, emphasized that the U.S. is interested in investing in and growing Africa based on the principle of good governance, respect of human rights, transparency, and democracy as the fundamental principles on which to base such an investment. Companies in the United States who desire to invest in nations where the rule of law is followed are eligible for the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, which prioritizes human rights. Design Nambiru, Smart 24 TV.
All right, welcome back from that. But lucky enough, and maybe unlucky enough, we can't get past this. So the business edition, from me and the team, we say thank you, and thank you a lot for keeping it Smart 24 TV. We shall be back again next week to bring you a detailed report like this in regard to matters of economic transformation and progress. I'm Ivan TV Nkana. Please keep it Smart 24 TV.